Today, we're going to explore a strange and wonderful part of human nature, our desire to seek out challenges that seem designed, well, to defeat us. We're diving deep into the psychology of why we love and even need difficult games.
It is a paradox, isn't it? After a long, demanding day, many of us come home and choose to spend our precious free time failing over and over and over again. So what's really going on here? Why do we actively pursue experiences that are built from the ground up to make us struggle?
Well, according to game designer Jane McGonigal, it's because failure in a game just hits differently than failure in real life. It doesn't crush our spirit. No, quite the opposite. It actually energizes us. It makes us optimistic. And that's the secret we're going to unpack. How have game designers become masters at making failure feel good?
And that brings us to our first crucial idea, what we might call the art of fair failure.
Because you see, not all failure is created equal. The reason we can actually find joy in losing is because a well-designed game makes a kind of silent promise, a contract with you, the player. And that promise is that the struggle, as intense as it might be, will always be fair.
And this is the absolute key. Fair failure tells you, hey, you can do this. You just need to try a different strategy. Get a little bit better. The responsibility points inward, to your own skill. But unfair failure? That points outward. It makes you feel like the game itself is cheating, that the rules are broken, that your effort means nothing. And that's when the contract is broken. And if you're looking for a perfect, almost legendary example of that broken contract, you don't have to look much further than the infamous Bed of Chaos from Dark Souls. This boss isn't famous for being a skillful challenge. Oh no, it's notorious for random pits opening up in the floor and sweeping attacks that kill you instantly no matter how good you are.
A player on Reddit summed up the feeling perfectly. It's a clever play on the term RNG, or random number generation, which usually governs chance in games. The feeling is that this fight isn't a test of your skill. It's just a roll of the dice. The frustration here isn't about the difficulty. It's about the injustice of it all. You know, game theorists like Jesper Juul actually have a framework for this. A good, fair failure should always feel internal, meaning it's up to you to improve. It should feel unstable, meaning you can change the outcome with practice. And it has to be specific, meaning it's just about this one challenge, not some grand verdict on you as a player. Unfair games flip all of that around, and that is a recipe for putting the controller down for good.
Okay, so if fair failure is the rule book, what's the actual engine that keeps us pushing forward? What is the deep psychological payoff?
It all comes down to a deceptively simple yet incredibly powerful cycle. The game presents a challenge, you try, you fail, you learn something, and eventually you find the solution. And then comes the reward. And I'm not just talking about some new item or points. The real reward is that feeling of mastery, of becoming more capable, more powerful. And here's the beautiful part. This isn't just some clever design trick. This loop is so compelling because it taps directly into our fundamental psychological needs. There's a whole framework for this called self-determination theory. The very best games are masters at satisfying these three core needs. Every time you overcome one of those fair challenges, your need for competence is fulfilled. When you get to choose your strategy, your character, your path, that's autonomy. And when you share that triumph with your friends, or even an online community, that fulfills our deep need for relatedness.
But here's the thing. It's not just about the game's design. To really complete the picture, we have to look inward. Because the player's own mindset is the final and perhaps most crucial piece of this entire puzzle.
This brings us to the groundbreaking work of psychologist Carol Dweck, who identified two fundamental mindsets people have about their own abilities. The core question is this: do you believe your talents are set in stone, or do you believe they can be developed? Your answer changes everything. So a player with a growth mindset looks at a tough boss and sees an opportunity, a chance to learn, adapt, and get better. For them, fair failure is the name of the game. But a player with a fixed mindset, they see that same boss as a threat, a judgment on their innate skill. Failure doesn't feel like a lesson, it feels like a personal indictment. And the research on this is just fascinating. In studies, when players made a mistake, the ones with a growth mindset spent significantly more time studying the feedback, trying to figure out what went wrong. The fixed mindset players, they were much more likely to just blow past it.
So what this tells us is that difficult games don't just attract people with a growth mindset, they actively help cultivate one.
So where does this all lead? Let's put all these pieces together and look at the grand design. When you step back and look at the most enduring and beloved games, you realize they aren't just trying to make you happy in a simple, fleeting way. They're doing something far more profound. They are meticulously designed systems for personal growth, built to make you feel competent, resilient, and capable.
The veteran designer Raf Koster put it perfectly. The fun we chase in games isn't just simple pleasure. It's the dopamine hit of understanding. It's the rush that comes from mastering a new skill. That incredible moment when something difficult finally clicks. In a great game, learning isn't just part of the experience. Learning is the experience. And make no mistake, this isn't just an artistic philosophy. It's the engine behind the most successful business model in gaming today. Live service games, your Fortnites, your Destinies, they're built on this. They aren't just selling you a single story. They are selling you a platform for continuous, long-term personal growth. And that's what keeps players coming back for years.
Which leads us to a fascinating final thought. If games are essentially training simulators for developing a growth mindset, if they teach us how to fail productively and build resilience, then maybe the skills we're honing in these virtual worlds are more than just for fun. They are powerful exercises for our minds, with applications that reach far beyond the screen.
And so, that leaves us with one question to reflect on. We know that games provide a safe harbor to practice failure, a luxury we so rarely have in the high stakes of the real world. So the next time you finally beat that impossible boss, ask yourself, what skills did you really just build? And what are you training for?